Arcane is a phenomenal show. The animation is absolutely stellar, the characters are riveting, and you can't help but be sucked in the moment you start watching. But it wasn't until after I had finished viewing it in its entirety that I started to pick up on certain things. Like how Jinx is the perfect embodiment of both the beautiful and ugly side of Piltover and its underworld. If there's one thing Jinx can't do, it's rationalize. She is pure emotion, all the time, raw, untamed, manic. And it's this unchecked emotion that sends her spiraling chaotically into cycles of destruction and despair. The same can be said for the inhabitants of Arcane's setting. The underworld is full of angry people, hopeful people, people longing for a better life. And while the residents of Piltover seem starkly contrasted with this, the ruling council appearing more cold and calculated, with even their shiny hextech weapons presenting as the polar opposite to the shimmer-induced animalism of Silco's armies, they're still evidently ruled by emotion. They're afraid of the past, afraid of their underworld counterparts, angry over their own inaction and hopeful for a better future. But it's their inability to rationalize, to recognize the humanity in each other and deal with one another fairly based on that sends them hurtling toward imminent destruction time and time again. Of course, there are those who tried. Vander did his best to keep the peace, but was eventually forced to act on emotion, turning himself in, taking Shimmer, and sacrificing himself, all to save Vi. And that leads to my next point. Hope. Jinx has her own fair share of hopes. As a child, she hopes to prove herself useful to the gang, only to have the result of her efforts to do so be catastrophic. She hopes to show Silco how capable she is, but this likewise results in numerous deaths. And in her hopes to restore her relationship with Vi by removing the one she sees as an obstacle, she ultimately only pushes her sister further away. And there's another fascinating aspect to this scene. While Vi encourages Jinx to remember those in her past, Silco urges her to forget them, to move on without them. The two of them are perfectly capturing the themes of unity and division, and it couldn't be more accurate for their characters. Vi may have started out the show as someone more like Silco, someone who resented the Topsiders and wanted nothing more than to be out from under their thumb. But as Vander's daughter, she eventually came to realize and prioritize the most important thing in her life. It further drives home the fact that Vander and Silco have essentially been reborn in their daughters. But going back to the point I was trying to make, these displays of hope ultimately backfiring for Jinx are reflected in other characters all throughout the story. Vi's hopes of profiting off of Topsiders are not only quickly dashed, but result in Piltover cracking down on the Underworld's residents. Jace and Victor's hopes of improving lives are dashed when their creations are weaponized. Silco's hopes of Zaun finally seceding from Piltover are quashed when he realizes what it's going to cost him. And Mel's hopes of preventing a war end when Jinx fires a rocket straight into the midst of her and her fellow counselors. And that's just the thing. Jinx single-handedly drives so much of the story. She is the catalyst for almost every major event throughout the show. She was the one who discovered Jace's hextech. She was the one who weaponized it. She drove Vi away, which ultimately landed her big sister in prison. She stole Hextech's refined crystals, which pushed Caitlyn to investigate and eventually stumble across Vi. In her efforts to separate the Topsider from her sister, Jinx accidentally kills Silco, which prompts her to fully embrace who she's become and lay waste to Piltover's board of counselors. It's almost like a Kylo Ren story, where the act of killing the parental figure is ultimately what makes or breaks the character. And as much as I love to hate Silco, there's no denying just how much he cares for Jinx. In his final moments, he is totally forgiving, still insisting that Jinx is perfect. And Jinx is perfect because Jinx is the heart of Arcane. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future content. I'm your Alibi, and I will see you next time. While Vi encourages... Why am I forgetting Jinx's name? It further drives... Oh. Hi. My cat's outside the window. The things I do for my babies. Get your doofus face in here. What are you doing? Please stop. Please refrain from doing what you are doing. You are sitting on my script. Can you please not? How am I supposed to know what my next line is? What was the line?